comments, take it. But I love to play the bass. There was a great drummer named uh, Joe Jones. There was a Philly Joe Jones, and he was Philly Joe Jones because he was from Philly. But the older Joe Jones was Joe Jones, and he played with Count Basie. And I used to play with Joe Jones. We used to play on the east side of club uptown called the Embers. And we had a trio we played every Sunday. And he used to call me Young Talent. And he said, Young Talent, he said, you know, when I play here, with brushes, you know, I might have my rings on and my watch. He said, but when I play Carnegie Hall with Tony Bennett, I take all that stuff off. He says, don't ever have anything in your way. And I always take my watch off when I play. But somehow, in front of all of you, being watched in scrutiny, I kept my watch on. And it got in my damn way. Jenny. ladies and gentlemen, this is Jenny Chu. I have many things I could say about Jenny.
Good things?
Let's play a portrait of Jenny.
Okay, let's do it. I think I learned this because of you, Buster.
I know. I told Jenny she had to learn a portrait of Jenny. That's her song. It was written for her, so she might as well know it.
A portrait of me.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
Gosh, I'm a little stumped on the bridge, Buster. Can you take the bridge?
How's the bridge go?
I don't know how the bridge goes. It's been ages since I played it, but I got the A's.
So how's it go into the bridge?
I think it just starts on.
About this music is learning it, you know, and not being afraid to, you know, to do exactly what we just did, you know, because once you learn it, then you got it, you know. Let's play something with a little beat. Any questions? Yes.
I really love your band, and I always wanted to ask you how you got the name Wingspan.
My band is not called Wingspan. You're thinking of somebody else.
Oh, okay. Your quartet with Steve Wilson?
Yeah, but you know who you're thinking of? You're thinking of
Mulgrews band.
Mulgrew Miller.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got the name wrong.
Yeah. He had a band called Wingspan.
Right. I'm sorry.
And Steve Wilson is also in my band. So that's where you got confused. Steve was in that band, but he was in my band first.
I'm thinking when I saw Steve with you and I had the wrong name. I apologize.
Right, that's okay. I understand. Any questions?
Did you start off with the bass as a child, or did you play other instruments?
I started off with the piano. You know, we had a roller piano. Now, all of you are too young to know what that is. It's a piano, an upright piano, and the pedals, where you put your foot on the pedals, and there was a, you know, and the doors, the sliding doors, and you put in these rollers, and you could play all of the great jazz authoritative, you know, on these rollers, you know.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
I'm not too young.
You remember that? Oh, you don't remember that, but
I don't remember it, but I
yeah,
heard about it.
yeah.
I've seen it in videos.
And then you could take the rollers out, you know, and when you're playing the pedals, you know, and our Tatum is playing all this stuff, you know, the keys would actually move. So it's like a ghost was sitting there playing the piano. But you could take the rollers out and then just play the piano. So I started playing piano. And see, my father played piano, bass, and drums. And then I heard Art Blakey and on this record. So I asked my father to teach me the drums. So my father said, okay. So he went upstairs, and he came downstairs with this little apparatus, which was like shaped like this, and it had a rubber pad on it. And he gave me that and 2 sticks. And I said, Dad, what's this? He said, well, if you play drums, you want to play drums, this is how you start, you know? And he put the sticks in my hand, and he says, single strokes, you know? And then he said, Mama, Daddy, Mama, Daddy. I said, no, Dad, I want to play the drums. He said, well, if you want to play the drums, this is what you got to do. So I did that for a while, and then he finally set up the drums for me in the basement. Oh, and I could sit down and make all this noise, you know. But then one day he played a record for me of Oscar Pettiford. Oscar Pettiford was one of the all-time great bass players. And Oscar Pettiford played Stardust solo. And I could hear the way the bass was mic'd, his thumb squeaked as it slid up and down the fingerboard. I tell this story all the time. And the squeaking of his thumb was the most alluring thing. I don't know what happened, but it pulled me right in. You know, that and the fact that I used to watch my father sit on the couch and put the bass between his legs and play the bass. And so I said, that's what I wanted to do. So he started teaching me the bass, and I stuck with the bass. I know enough piano to write my music, and I know what it's supposed to sound like, and drums also. So I'm a rhythm section man. Yes.
first exposure to you was, I heard you play, and I didn't even, it just embellished me on the Free Spirits album with Mary Lou Williams. And I said, who is this guy on the bass? Because you didn't dominate her, but you wrapped yourself around her. And so I want to know how you do that, with the people that you're playing with, and also how do you keep you like playing bass, as you mentioned, how do you keep it interesting and evolving to stay interested?
Is it interesting?
Very much so. I love love hearing you play. Yeah.
Oh, good. So it's working. But I hear a lot of things in my head. And see, anyone who plays these instruments, especially in the rhythm section, you must understand your responsibility and cherish that responsibility and understand that that responsibility doesn't limit you. If you truly embrace that responsibility, what you can do is unlimited. I don't know if you notice, but when Jenny and I just played, my responsibility is to play roots, So if the beat is this, when I'm playing in two, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? But I hear all kind of stuff, I hear all of the stuff that's in the middle of her chords, and I hear how her chords are moving, the inner movements. And in music, every note leads to another note, and every chord leads to another chord, and every beat leads to another beat. And I hear all of these things, and but I have to be disciplined at the same time. I can't just play everything I hear, because if I did, Jenny would just stop and look at me and say, "Well, why am I here?" So it's a conversation, and it's a world of democracy. What I do allows her to do what she wants to do. What she does allows me to do what I want to do. And we have to make it all work, Say if we're going to really have a good dialogue, well then I need to respect what you say. You need to respect what I say. We can't just talk at the same time, And that's what this music is. It's about conversation, And the thing about this music is I don't care how much you practice at home or how much you go to a school of learning. If you don't play with others, you never learn how to play this music. Because it's like I said, it's democratic, and when I was younger, we'd play a gig all night, 5 sets. Start at 9 o'clock, finish at 2 in the morning, and then go somewhere and play a jam session all night, the rest of the night. And but that's what it is. It brings joy and fulfillment, and you learn. In learning how to play with others, you learn how to live with others. You learn how to live in this world. this music it turns you into an adult, you know, at the proper time, you know? Because it teaches you the power of dialogue, you know, and how to respect dialogue and how to respect others' thoughts, you know? Because as we're playing, I mean, that's what's going on. She's respecting what I'm thinking. I'm respecting what she's thinking. You know? It's a beautiful thing. You know? I think if you dissected a musician's mind, well, one thing they found is that there's more gray matter in a musician's brain than anyone else. And that gray matter makes you a better mathematician, makes you better at science, makes you better at geology. When they took music out of schools, you know, that's when we all became dumb. Yeah? Yeah. Music was the that's the most important subject in school. And schools that have music have children that excel in all other subjects. Are you a teacher?
I'm a retired teacher.
But you know, so you know.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to ask, how then do you infuse your spirituality into your music, speaking about how the dialogue and the democracy that you find in your playing, or with your playing?
You know, when you really look at yourself as a musician and someone who is subjugated by this music, someone who is takes the responsibility of rendering a song rather than using the music as a tool or as something for you to bastardize, you know, then all of these things come into play very naturally. Like the spiritual, there's no way to play a ballad without your spirit being a part of it. And I'll say this, you know, what's happening when we're playing is a lesson in reality, and that reality is that mind and body are one. Mind and body are one. And the more you give yourself to the music, the more you realize that. And when you put the instrument down, you're still the same person that was playing that music. Yeah? So the way you were in playing that music tends to be the way you are. You know? And that's the lesson. And that's the growth. That's the growth. You don't even see it. It's like trying to watch grass grow, you know? Or trying to watch time fly. You never see it, but it's happening, you know? And see, music is romance. Music is romance. Anyone that doesn't understand that, you can hear it in the way they play. One who understands that music is romance, then that music touches the hearts of others. Huh? You understand? Let's play something else. Can we play something else?
I got it now.
You think you got it? I think I got it. Oh, no, let's play something else.
Okay.
Let's play,
Let's read flourished here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, to me, you've always been Pop-Up, and like the government, you're Charles, but where did Buster come from? Did that happen before your career, or did that happen after your career started?
Well, that's my granddaughter. And she always was smart. So I'm Pop-Up. So, Pop-Up to you, young lady. No, but Buster, you know, that's an interesting thing because I asked my mother, I was Buster as long as, from when I was a kid. And I asked my mother, where did that name come from? Why was I called Buster? And she said, well, your father had a friend that was a bartender over at this club in Philadelphia called Peps. And Peps used to always bring in top talent from all over, from New York. And so my name came from this bartender. And my father said, I don't know who that was. So then my mother said, well, we wanted to call you Chuck, but you were too skinny. I was like that when I was a boy. And so I didn't have enough weight to be called Chuck. So what it came down to is I don't know where Buster came from. My mother wasn't sure, and my father wasn't either. I was just always Buster. And I always related it to gangbusters. And then there was an actor named Buster Keaton, and there was another actor named Buster Crabbe. So I'd like to know where their names came from. But, so darling, Pop-Up doesn't know.
So what's your official name?
Charles Anthony Williams Jr. That's like Nana said. She says, you know, you Pop-Up, but the government calls you Charles. Yeah, the government calls me Charles. Charles Anthony Williams Jr. So my father was Charles Anthony Williams Sr., and my son is Charles Anthony Williams III. And he refuses to use the third. So he said, I'm Charles Anthony Williams. So I'm always fearful. I don't want any mail coming to my house for him, you know. I remember a letter came to the house when I was a kid, and my father told me, he says, look, this letter came for you, okay? So I said, okay, Dad. So I'll just leave it at that. Wow, that went over like a lead balloon. So anyway, yeah. Yes.
Do any of your, back here,
Yeah.
something different? For me.
You.
What made Charlie Parker the great musician that he was, in your opinion?
Oh. And Charlie Parker, you know, was a revolutionary, you know, and the interesting thing is he came along just like everybody else. You know, this music is passed down through mentorship. And no one was playing like Charlie Parker, but he was influenced by lots of people. And but this influence allowed him to revolution. How do you say that? Revolutionize this music, because nobody played like him. To today, everyone is still trying to play like Charlie Parker. You know, so that's why Charlie Parker is revered the way he is, because he was a revolutionary. You know, and it takes a lot of courage to do that, you know, to get on the bandstand and be different. Be different, but not for the sake of being different, you know, but being different to the point where, you know, everyone's jaw drops in awe, and then everyone wants to play like you. You know, you got to be fearless too, you know. But you have no choice. There's been a few revolutionaries in this music. Not everybody is. You know. Tony Williams, the great drummer, was one. You know. Dizzy Gillespie. There's a, you know, I got a coffee cup that says, you know, let's just say anyone can be cool, but it takes practice to be awesome. You know?
Thank you.
Yes.
Who were some of your mentors coming up in the 60s and 50s when you was coming up?
You know, I listen to everybody, you know, and my father told me, you know, you got to listen to everybody, you know, because you can't play this music in a vacuum, and you're not going to learn how to do it from from paper with notes on it. You got to listen, you know, and, you know, allow yourself to be influenced. And with that lesson from him, I listened, and I heard what I wanted to do, and I heard what I didn't want to do. You know, and you know, and you copy for a while until you find your own voice. You know, so, you know, and my influences were not just those who played this instrument. You know, saxophone, drums, piano, trumpet, and so forth. You know, but I loved Paul Chambers, and I loved Ray Brown, and George Duvivier, you know, and a lot of people that you may have never heard of, you know. There's a guy in Philadelphia named Arthur Harper. And Arthur Harper, he had a beat, and another guy named Spanky DeBrest. Spanky DeBrest was in one of the early Art Blakey jazz messengers, along with Jackie McLean and Bill Hardman. Piano player named Sam Dockery, who was from my hometown, Camden, New Jersey. And, you know, but the inspiration is all around you, you know. And there's lots of brilliant young people coming up now. You know, Jenny, Ben Feldman, you know, Paul Kafari, Billy Edwards. You know, you got to listen out for these guys. They're going to be, you know, and they got their own voice, or they're developing their own voice, you know. And they'll be just like, you know, those of my generation. We pay tribute to those who came before us because we know that, you know, if it were not for them, there'd be no us, you know. But you'll hear them, and they'll be standing on their own ground, making it their own. And that's how this music, you know, thrives. That's why it'll never go away. It's like the proverbial roach. You can stomp on as many as you can, but they keep coming. Okay. So actually, we've just about exhausted our time here. And again, thank you, Jenny.
On behalf of the museum, how honored we are to have Mr. Williams. And if you want to know more, there's this incredible documentary, Bass to Oblivion, to Infinity, pardon me. Today's my day for goofing everything up. But anyway, Bass to Infinity. And strongly recommend you watch it because it's not only a wonderful documentary, but it's about the person whose spirituality and everything just infused this room. So thank you all for coming. We're honored to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.